Hello, and welcome to the We Get to Do This podcast. My name is Kailee.
And I'm Jacob.
And we are your co-hosts.
In this show, we're going to dive into all things our lives, from our partnership to romance to entrepreneurship to growing our businesses together, our fitness journeys, and we're going to have a ton of different guests on that relate to what I just said in some way. We're hoping you enjoy the show, and if you do,
please feel free to follow us, leave us a 5-star review on wherever you listen to your podcasts, and enjoy.
And if you don't like the show, tough. Thank you.
Thanks.
What are you doing over there?
I'm being a Muppet. What episode are we on?
Episode 13.
13. Wow.
I'm back, folks.
Kaylee's back. Yay.
It's been a few weeks.
He kind of took over the podcast.
Yeah, he did. Everyone's been asking what happened to me. I think they wondered if I was booted off the show or not.
Have you actually been getting asked that?
No, but I have had 2 comments about me not being on here.
Yeah. Did you get any? You've been working on, for sure, 1 interview to do on your own, right?
Yeah, I have a guest coming up that I'm excited about. But I can't believe it's already been a couple weeks since I was on.
Yeah.
And now we're like, okay, we're recording again.
It was kind of nice. We went 2 weeks there where we didn't have to record anything because we recorded those podcasts like 3 weeks ago or whatever, So that was actually kind of a nice little break we had where we got to spend 2 weeks not having to put a lot of effort into the podcast, which was fun. And it was cool just testing out different things and seeing what people liked, what people didn't like. And
yeah, it was nice having a break, but honestly, I'm excited to be back, which is a good feeling too.
Yeah.
I was excited to record again this week.
Yeah. What have you been up to the past few weeks?
Well, we've been in prime fall race season, and this was already over 2 weeks ago, but we had the Twin Cities 10 miler and Twin Cities Marathon weekend, which was a blast. It ended up, so last year, for those of you who remember, it was canceled because of the heat. And this year, if it had been the week before, probably would have been canceled again. But we ended up with perfect weather. It was extremely windy, but it was at our backs the whole time. And basically felt like it pushed us to the finish. And you didn't notice how windy it was until the finish line. And I was like, holy smokes, it's chilly out here. So I felt bad for all the spectators, but for us, it was great.
And how'd it go for you? Because that was your A race, one of the A races we talked about back in August.
Mm-hmm.
When we talked about goals.
My A race for the fall. And I PR'd by 4 minutes. Thanks.
What was the time?
It was a long time ago. 1:14:33.
Wow.
This is about a 7 minutes and 27 seconds per mile pace.
Wow.
And I made a post about this, but I went back and looked at some of my college cross-country times because I did cross-country for a couple of years at Gustavus, and these times are like significantly faster than what I ever ran in college, which is just very fun to look back and see that and see the progress and see how far I've come, not just physically, but mentally also. And I feel like trail running has had a huge contribution to that and played a big factor in the mental side of things and being able to push my body and mind past the limits that I once thought weren't possible, and not accepting or not, how do I say this? I always just assumed I would be one of the last ones in track and cross country. And now it's okay, Kaylee, you don't need to accept that for yourself. You can be with more of the leaders. Not that I was one of the first people by any means, but I was, in the top, 10%, 20%, something like that. I can't remember now. But yeah, it feels good. Felt like my nutrition was on. Felt like my training was really good. And my whole goal was just to leave everything out on the course, and that's what I did. Even ended with a little bit of dry heaving at the finish line, so I'd say that was a good sign. So I think my last mile was like 6:58 or something, but it's funny because then so I did that mile, and that's I think the fastest mile I've ever done was 6:38, and that was years ago. Like I haven't tested my mile time in forever, but I got done with that, and it's like, okay, now I want to PR my mile time. I want to PR my 5K time, my 10K time. It just motivates you to go do all the things. But then at the same time, like, okay, you can rest. There's plenty of time to go back and do all those things. So now I'm trying to chill, because then I talked about doing a marathon the next week, and Coach Jacob here put the kibosh on that.
You weren't actually going to sign up for Indy. Plus, Indy's full.
It wasn't at the time.
Whatever.
There were 5% of the spots open.
It would have been kind of like Tom Brady when he came out of retirement the second time or the first time.
Yeah.
And he came out of retirement twice because you went out on Instagram and you made this big announcement about how you're resting, and then if you would have been like, psych, hold my beer, I'm going to do a marathon.
It's addicting, and it's hard because, you've put in, I've put in work all year to get to this point, and then it's like, nah, I'm just going to chill and hang back here. And I think it's good for me to understand like what my patients and other athletes are going through, because I always tell other people to rest, but just being able to realize that you're not losing your gains that you've made. I'm already like, I have this baseline now, and just because I'm taking a couple months of more downtime doesn't mean I'm not working out. It doesn't mean I'm not doing things. And my goal is to get super strong again this winter and focus on weight training, plyos, mobility, still base building, like running, just not doing workouts and having like a structured plan for a little bit, and just knowing that that's okay. And doesn't mean I'm going to lose all this progress that I've made. How'd it go for you?
It was pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you hit a PR?
I think technically, yeah.
I thought you did.
Well, I believe I've split what I ran in half marathons a couple times. I don't know if you count. So yeah, my PR for the 10 mile was just under 70 minutes. And I ran 67:28, I think.
Oof.
And so it's definitely a PR on that course for sure. And then it's like, how do you determine a PR, I guess? Can you count PRs if they're within half marathons? I don't know. So I'm going to say yes, I PR'd. Like 2 minutes.
How'd you feel?
I felt like I had more to give in the middle miles. My paces were really, really weird and all over the place because the average for that is 6:44. And I think I had 4 miles at 7 flat pace, and one of them was like 7:04. And then the other 6 were all like then, I think. Like one of them was like 6:40, but all of them were like 6:30-ish. So just weird splits, weird pacing. When it got hard, I was kind of like, wow, this is hard. I don't feel like doing it. And yeah, mentally, I just feel like I kind of threw in the towel. So that's something I've been working on, since that. And now we're kind of in the dog days a little bit in training, in the sense that I'm seeing so many other people not really training hard, So this is the part of, we're getting to the part of CIM training where it gets a little hard, just because, again, you like you're done. And I'm kind of like, I'm kind of ready to be done. But also I'm not. I have 6 weeks to get. I'm just like getting started almost, it feels like. So, and grappling too with again, like what it is I want and what I define as success, I guess, in this sport too. Like when we did Loop It Lop It last weekend, and that was a blast. And I ran hard, didn't care about the times, but I ran hard for every lap. And I just hung out with friends, and no one else really cared about the times. And like that was just fun. And I just kind of missed that, I guess. Not that I've been focusing too much on times this fall either, but I don't know. I think I'm kind of missing running just to run. But I feel really fit, so that's fun.
Yeah, you've been talking about that a lot.
You know, I'm slightly overtrained right now and like sick. So I'm going to take a few days and not really run hard at all and drop mileage like by 50%. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see how Indy goes. I'm excited to see how CIM goes. I'm more excited about CIM than I am about Indy. I really do think the marathon wise, I'm going to be able to get under 3:10 this time. I really do. So that's kind of what I'm going for. And the Garmin currently says I'm going to go 3:13 at CIM. So A goal will be under 3:10 and B goal will beat Garmin.
It'll be interesting to see what happens the next 6 weeks with your watch as you start doing more like speed workouts and stuff. Yeah,
and I mean, it's usually pretty accurate for me. I've talked to Aaron about this, and he like doesn't like the watches, and I think a lot of times it's just, it's kind of like heart rate and like how you measure your workouts and figure out what works for you. This thing has been like spot on to my marathons every time within like a minute. So it's at 3:13 right now. It's realistically, it's not like it's going to drop 15 minutes in the next 6 weeks, right? It's probably going to end up being right at like 3:10 when I go into that race. So yeah, it's going to be cool. And I was talking with Matt last night, and one of the biggest things we're working on right now is being uncomfortable in workouts, So today's workout was, again, the paces don't really matter. It's more of like learning to flip the switch when you've got, a mile and a half to go and you are dead. And you have to say, okay, either you want this or you don't. And if you don't, that's fine. But, it's either you want it or you don't. And you have to kind of lock in and remember why you're out there. And I'm getting to a point right now with it where I'm like, if I'm doing all of this work, I'm doing all of this work. Like, I don't want it to just, not that you have to run a certain time, but I don't want to not give it my all effort wise after I put in all of this work. If that makes sense.
Well, I think that's why this weekend was good too. And we came out of it exhausted, but we went into it not having any time or mileage goals, right? And so it was 5 mile loops that we did as many times as we could in the span of 12 hours.
Loop It Lop It.
Loop It Lop It, trail relay, still can't say it, something with indigenous people. But it was just fun to just test ourselves, what our physical capabilities were, instead of being like, okay, I'm going to hit, 7:30 mile pace this whole time, or a 7-minute pace, or an 8-minute pace, whatever it is. And it was just because on trails, it's so much harder to do that because this thing was just up and down the entire time. It was about 420 feet of elevation gain per 5 mile loop. So it's not flat. And neither of us had really trained any trails since our trip to Washington in July. I hadn't been on a trail since then. And so that's like, if you want to train effort wise, I feel like trails are a very good place to do that. To forget about your watch, forget about your time, and to just run. And another thing I posted about for the 10 miler was if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And I think that's something for you too in this next, month and a half. It's like people are either done training or just never trained. And it's like you're still the one that's out there, and it's not easy. And doing like workouts by yourself and stuff is not an easy thing. So I think just important to like give yourself credit for that, while knowing that there's a bunch of people like also cheering you on. And it's fun too. You have a big group going out to CIM too.
Yeah.
So.
And there's people doing indie with me too. Like it's not. Yeah, I mean,
it's just compared to the rest of the year when
everyone's
is training.
Right. And then you get back from CIM and people are starting to train for like grandmas.
Yeah, because they've already had their rest.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm thinking more about next year too, and I'm pretty excited that I have nothing really on my calendar. And I don't really know what I'm going to do next, but I don't know. I don't know what I want to do next. I think that's fine. But focused on CIM right now, and I'm going to go hit a really nice PR there. And yeah, that's where I'm at.
And the other fun thing is that we've been incorporating some non-running things into our lives.
Right.
So while Jacob's in, peak marathon training, we're also very big into runners not running right now.
Yeah. Al made a comment at Loop It Lop It about how I only talk about exercise and running. And we only really get defensive about comments that are true. So, yeah. So I talked with my Sherpa. It was ironic because he made that comment after I talked with like you and my Sherpa on Thursday. I call my therapist my Sherpa. And we were talking about how I was talking about being nostalgic specifically to like other parts of my life, I guess, in the sense of right now, I feel like I kind of have everything. This is going to sound extremely ignorant. I feel like I kind of have everything I ever like wanted, I guess, in the sense that I work full time for myself. I work 90% of my time with endurance athletes. I make more money than I made in the corporate world. I have a beautiful partner that not only is drop dead gorgeous, but we see very eye to eye on so much. Like that like you ran with me at 5 a.m. on Monday because you wanted to, and we'll go sauna at 9 p.m. at night. It's just like we have very similar morals. And one of the downfalls to all of what I just said, if you can believe there are some, is that we don't really do anything that isn't productive. I think that's the best way to understand it. And it's not that I miss being not productive. It's more so that I miss doing things outside of productivity. And right now, productivity for us is mainly stuff related to runners or whatever. Health and wellness. And so one of the things I've been doing more of is video games. So I started playing Pokemon, and we started playing Mario together. We watch a lot of Netflix. We
walked up to Target the other day, and another runner's not running, and picked up a couple of video games.
Right. And
Would you say we watch a lot of Netflix?
Well, we were watching like an episode a night.
If that.
Every other night?
If that.
Well, the problem is we, like my books right now are 101 essays that will change the way you think and ignite the fire, which is about a personal training world, etiquette, whatever. That's what I read for joy reading, which, Taylor talks about this, how he's like, I don't do, how did he say? He said like he doesn't do a lot of things, but like a lot of, wide variety of things, but he like loves the things he does. Right. Yeah. So, and that's, what we do for the most part. But at the same time, it's like, I want to do other things too with my life. I don't want to just run all the time. So even like Catan and Pokemon, playing video games, hanging out with other non-runners, just different things like that. And I think that's been good for us. I don't remember what we were talking. We were talking about something at dinner the other night when we were out to eat, and I was like, "Oh, that would be very good for the podcast," but I don't remember what it was. But yeah, I think that it's something we've been working on, and it's sometimes hard too because most of our friends, their hobbies, or most of our runner friends, I should say, their hobbies are running. Right? They have a 8 to 5, 7 to 7, whatever job. And then the running is the escape. Like it's their hobby. And we've turned that into our life for better or worse. And so when we're outside of the work setting, we're still talking about running. Like we're still, and then if we're with people who don't run a lot of times we'll get comments about like, how's your running going? Because that's all we do.
Yeah.
So it's like, I want an identity outside of that. I don't want that to be the only thing. And I also hope that this podcast can be part of what builds an identity out of that too. I think I just rambled enough.
No, I agree. And I think even our social time, like I noticed that a lot of runners, they're, our group runs, that's their social time for the day, but we've been socializing all day like that.
Right.
And talking about running all day with people, which we love. That's why we made careers out of it. But it's just different.
Right. Yeah. Like it's like when I first got into the industry, going to group runs, I loved doing it because running as my job was very new. Right. Now what's the word? Can't think of the word. But like the new effect of that has worn off, and I've like this is the normal for me now. Which again, I'm very blessed. I'm not saying I don't like what I do
lucky.
by any means. These are very privileged statements we're saying right now. It's more of like the grass isn't always greener type of thing, in the sense that like we still have things we struggle with, right? But now. And I go to group runs sometimes, but it's very hard for me to go to group runs because they're usually outside of working hours. Usually, I feel like I need to be like on/working. We usually get asked questions, like because most people know that we're subject matter experts, right? And so a lot of times would rather run alone because then I can have that alone time as utilizing running how I used to use it when I was working in 95, right? It becomes that like for me alone time in my head to like, or like to listen to music or escape or whatever, So it's been this year has been just an interesting, the year in a whole has been very fun to figure all this out as I've normalized my career more to me.
And it's fun because we did go for a date night last week. I don't think we talked about really business or much running for most of the date night, which for us
was good. Fantasy football. We're doing that. And you're getting into it.
Fantasy.
I'm going to get into the Timberwolves this year. That's what I've decided.
Are you going to be a bandwagoner again?
Yeah, 100%. But I'm going to actually like follow them and pay attention to games and stuff. That's another thing I want to do. It's outside of running.
Yeah, I feel like we're coming up with some things.
Yeah, I agree.
And when I read fantasy, Fairy Smut, so that helps too.
Right. I need to do more Fairy Smut. Should read more Fairy Smut. Do more Legos. I went through a Lego phase at one point too. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's plenty. I have stuff to do. It's just I also get excited about work, and then I just get super addicted to it.
Yeah, we just put a lot of time into those things. And what marathon training for you, it's very time consuming.
Yeah, right now it's crazy. It's
like very time consuming.
Yeah.
So it's not like we just have all this other time that we're like, okay, what do we do? Well, let's just work. It's like, no, there's just not that much time left at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Or on weekends, we're out doing trail relays, I forgot what I was just going to say. Oh, I was going to say too, I feel like that's just our culture though. Like the cultural norm is to, find what you love, turn it into a side hustle and then make it work. And so I think it's just a good reminder for everyone. Like do things that just bring you joy just because they bring you joy and are like a little getaway from your regular 9 to 5 or whatever it is that you're doing to earn money or like better yourself. I'm all about bettering yourself, but sometimes bettering yourself can mean chilling out for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this is very preventative too, because I've been burnt out before and I don't want to be burnt out again.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel burnt out at all. I just feel like I want to do other things.
And I think as soon as we start feeling those feelings of burnout or like not wanting to work as much, it's like, okay, that's the perfect time to pull back. And especially now that it's, fall time, as things are getting a little quieter maybe and less going on. I think that was a really good time to like dive in more internally and do more of the internal work.
Right. Another thing that I think we wanted to talk about was community a little bit. And now I remember that one of the things that we were talking about too is, or what sparked this was, so I'm 26 now and I'm very much having my first realization of, or this year has been like kind of my first realization of just seeing people less, like friends less. And we were talking about how powerful, this is kind of ironic because we were just talking about the opposite of this a little bit, I guess, but we were talking about how powerful the running community is for us in the sense that it, in college, in high school, after college, when you live with friends, whatever, you get this community sense that you get to have how was your day? How was your week? What are you doing this weekend? What do you want to do this weekend? What do you want to do tonight? Let's go grab dinner, right? With like multiple people. And it's very easy to do that type of thing. And then people get busy, drift apart, whatever it is. And the communities just change, right? And now for us, again, this is ironic because what we were just talking about, but like we've found that the running community, like Loop It, Lomp It, TC, group runs, strength classes, things like that have been able to provide that space for us and clients and whatnot.
I think that's why we are drawn to it and why we're just talking about what we were a couple seconds ago, because there is so much value in that and having those consistent people week after week that you just see over and over.
Right.
And that's why there hasn't really been a huge push to do something different. It's like we've talked about this before too, about how, you need to surround yourself with good people that challenge you, that lift you up. And that's the running community.
Right.
And why we found our friendships and we found each other through the running community, and similar hobbies. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. And yeah, I just think it's important to have people that you have similar like interests with. And I was saying too, I have a lot of friends that, I love from growing up, but it's just different because when you do meet up with them, it's, catching up on the big life events. Like, started a podcast, I have a business, how are your parents doing? Like, and all those things are very important, but it's just different when you have the people that you're seeing on a, weekly or multi-weekly basis.
Right.
And it's more of the, what'd you have for dinner last night? What are you having for dinner tonight? What'd you do this weekend? What are you doing next weekend? More of those conversations that I even have with my, weekly acupuncture patients. And it's just very cool to have that support. Because I think so many people, graduate college and you are just kind of left out in the world. And, if you have a partner, you have them, or you don't have a partner. And it's just different.
Right. So I think, and again, I talked to my Sherpa about this, but I think at the end of the day, it kind of boils down to, again, sometimes it's okay to be content and just be. I think that's the state that I'm personally in right now with like and I've said this before too and it's waves, right? It's cyclical in the sense that I will go through periods where I'll be posting a ton on social and grinding to get new clients and whatnot, and because I'll get addicted and that will be fun, right? Get the marketing side. But sometimes I really like focusing on my current client base and creating the community there and enhancing the community there and having fun with that community and growing it, whatever. And just being content with that, working towards our goals, having fun along the way. And on the, weekends and nights playing video games. Just be. I think sometimes it's very much okay to do that in the different seasons of life. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And, I think we've talked about this, and I think part of the struggles I've had with running this year is, one, I need to develop my why still. I still feel like I haven't. And I really do think part of that is because I'm not really running away from anything. And that's the first time I feel like I haven't been since this year. I just feel like for the most part, I've been setting up things that I've just really enjoyed. And it's just been different because I'm not I don't have someone in my mind all the time that I'm trying to prove wrong, or people or past versions of myself or whatever it is. Right. I just am this is great, and it actually is, again, it's just kind of that. Sometimes it's okay to be content and just be.
Yeah. Because we know it's not going to last forever. And
No.
We talked about how lucky we are to be in this position, I'm very grateful for that. And we're going to continue to have highs and lows. But right now, it's okay to just, not just, but to want to train for a marathon and to continue to, build your community and your client base, friendships, hobbies. Those are all very good things. And we talk about how this is the time to be doing those things because things aren't, we're not trying to dig ourselves out of a hole and trying to put out a bunch of fires, So this is the time to let the nervous system chill for a little bit, knowing that, life is going to continue happening, but we'll always have each other.
Mic drop.
Episode 13.
If you, speaking of community, want to come enjoy a very fun community event on November.
Day after Thanksgiving.
November, I think it's 29th.
Is Thanksgiving that late this year?
Yeah. November 29th, we are hosting a group run plus strength class in North Loop, Real Active Wellness location. 8 a.m. the group run starts. 9 a.m. the strength class starts. If you want to come to just one, you can do that, I guess, but you should come to both. It's $30. If you have a package already, you can use the package towards that. Bring friends, family. Let's make it a party.
Yeah.
Let's make it a party.
If you have relatives in town, bring them.
Yeah. Although I do anticipate there being quite a bit of people there. So I capped it at 20, and I'm not allowing the bring a friend discount thingy because it's going to be too crazy, I think. So
sign up early since spots will be limited, and
come hang out with us. We'll probably bring donuts.
Yeah, maybe. Some type of treat.
I'm sure we'll bring something.
Turkey leftovers,
yeah. November 29th, be there. We'll keep you updated. We also have some other group events coming up at the end of December, maybe in the new year with Hot Works and stuff. And we get to do this,
More to come.
We get to do this.
Thanks for being here.